ॐ वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Today is our 31st class to the introduction to Vedanta, the text Tattva-bodha. You can repeat after me and make sure that there is no background noise. Vasudevendra Yogindram
वासुदेवेन्द्रयोगीन्द्रं
Natva Jnanapradam Gurum
ज्ञानप्रदं गुरुं
Mukshunam Hitarthaya
मुमुक्षूणां हितार्थाय
Tattva-bodho Vidhiyate.
तत्त्वबोधविधीयते
साधनचतुष्टय सम्पन्नाधिकारिणाम्
साधनचतुष्टयसम्पन्नाधिकारिणां
मोक्षसाधनभूतम्
मोक्षसाधनभूतं
तत्त्वविवेकप्रकारम्
तत्त्वविवेकप्रकारं
वक्ष्यामः।
वक्ष्यामः।
साधनचतुष्टयं किम्
साधनचतुष्टयं किं
नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः
पुत्रार्थफलभोगविरागः
फलभोगविरागः
क्षमादिषट्कसम्पत्तिः
क्षमादिषट्कसम्पत्तिः
मुमुक्षुत्वं चेति
मुमुक्षुत्वं चेति
नित्यानित्यवस्तु विवेकः कः
नित्यानित्यवस्तुविवेकः कः
नित्यवस्तु एकं ब्रह्म
नित्यवस्तु एकं ब्रह्म
तद्व्यतिरिक्तं सर्वम् अनित्यम्
तद्व्यतिरिक्तं सर्वम् अनित्यम्
अयमेव नित्यानित्यवस्तु विवेकः
अयमेव नित्यवस्तुविवेकः
विरागः कः
विरागः
इह स्वर्गभोगेषु इच्छाराहित्यम्
सर्वभोगेषु इच्छाराहित्यम्
शमादि षट्कसम्पत्तिः का
समाधिषट्कसम्पत्तिः
शमः दमः उपरमः
शमः
तितिक्षा श्रद्धा समाधानं च इति
समाधानं च इति
शमः कः
शमः
मनोनिग्रहः
मनोनिग्रहः
दमः कः
दमः
चक्षुरादि इन्द्रियनिग्रहः
चक्षुरादीन्द्रियनिग्रहः
उपरमः कः
उपरमः
स्वधर्मानुष्ठानम् एव
स्वधर्मानुष्ठानम् एव
तितिक्षा का
तितिक्षा का
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखादि सहिष्णुत्वम्
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखादिसहिष्णुत्वम्
श्रद्धा कीदृशी
श्रद्धा कीदृशी
वेदान्तवाक्येषु विश्वासः श्रद्धा
वेदान्तवाक्येषु विश्वासः श्रद्धा
समाधानं किम्
समाधानं किम्
चित्तैकाग्रता
चित्तैकाग्रता
मुमुक्षुत्वं किम्
मुमुक्षुत्वं किम्
मोक्षो मे भूयात् इति इच्छा
मोक्षो मे भूयात् इति इच्छा
एतत् साधनचतुष्टयम्
साधनचतुष्टयम्
अतः तत्त्वविवेकस्य अधिकारिणः भवन्ति Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, can you all hear me?
Hanji.
Yes, Guruji.
Okay.
Yes, Guruji.
Yeah. The last few classes we have been discussing this topic of Viveka and Vairagya. And we have dealt with them in detail, and also some questions of the students were either directly or indirectly answered. I encourage you to ask questions. If the questions are not answered immediately after the class, because time may not be there immediately after the class, you can send your question through WhatsApp. It will be addressed either in the next class or in the successive classes. Because this is a dialogue. The teaching is in the form of the dialogue. The dialogue is a constructive dialogue. The question is from the student, and the part of the student to understand, and it is clarified by the teacher. Any Vedanta text you take, it will be in the form of a Prashna and Uttara. Prashna, the question asked by the students, and the Uttaram, in the form of Upadesha given by the teacher. Here also you see the same pattern. The Tattva Bodha, Nitya Nitya Vastu Vivekaha Kaha. Even though it is not mentioned that Shishya asks this question, but it is understood. Question is there, it means Guru will not ask question. Shishya asks question and the Guru answers. Even though it is not there, Arjuna Uvacha, then Bhagavan Uvacha. Even though that Shishya Uvacha, Guru Uvacha, it is not there, but it is understood. Because this Vedantic teaching, they generally will be in the form of a dialogue, Samvada. So here, the author introduced the topic Sadhana Chatushtayam, which is a very important topic. We can talk a lot on this topic alone. And the first two important sadhanam, Viveka and Vairagya. The Viveka, which is Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka, otherwise called Purushartha Viveka, the clarity in what I want, the clarity in priority, what I want in life and what I seek and what I want. Does it match? That is called Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. And in general, we discussed on Viveka, Dharma Dharma Viveka also. Dharma Dharma Viveka first and then Nitya Nitya Viveka. Dharma Dharma Viveka is dealt by the Veda Purva of the Veda, the first part of the Veda. You have to become a Dharmika Purusha. You have to become a Dharmika Purusha, a person following the values, cultivating attitudes, healthy attitudes towards the life, gaining the strength to face the life situations, gaining the maturity, the Pakvata for Vedanta, that is the last portion of the Veda, the Upanishads. There we need Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. So it's a progress. But we need Viveka all the way. From Veda Purva to Vedanta, Viveka is required all the way. Dharma Dharma Viveka to Nitya Nitya Viveka. But we don't ask what is Dharma Dharma Viveka because it is assumed to be understood. Therefore, it is not asked because it deals with Veda Purva. Veda Purva means following a religious life in order to become a spiritual person or following a spiritual life. Religious life to spiritual life, that conversion from a mumukshu to a jignasu, the conversion. When you convert, you ask this question, what is Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka? When a conversion takes place, this question comes. And we discussed what is this Viveka. Once you have this Viveka, then naturally the result will be viraga, because you know what is nitya and what is anitya. So you separate yourself from anitya and you go towards nitya, because you clearly see what they are. You will not go after that which are impermanent, because permanent things are many. And there is only one thing which is permanent, which is Ishvara, Bhagavan, which is Brahma. That is what is Shashvata. That is what the reality is. Therefore, you go after that. You choose. Discrimination means choosing. Choose discrimination is choosing based on understanding things very clearly. That clarity, that is Viveka. Now you know what is Nityam, what is Anityam. The result of this Viveka will be, for a spiritual person, is Viraga. Viraga, that is Raga, Ragityam. Absence of Raga. Absence of Icha. Raga means having subjective values. Superimposing one's own subjective values on things or persons or situations, that is raga, loosely translated as attachment. Attachment is not because of the person or the things. Attachment is because of you. You superimpose your subjective values on things or persons and you become attached to it. So it is obsession for something based on your subjective values. That is raga. If it is very tivra, it is very intense, the raga will cause a lot of problem. Raga will result in this kama, that raga is kama, which result in krodha, lobha, moha, vada, all other things will follow. All the shat ripus, and it will take away our peace of mind. It will take away our time, energy, and we will be spending our time and energy on unnecessary things and struggle to become free. So, therefore, in the beginning itself, if you are alert, you distance yourself from things which on which you have on which you can have this obsessive longing. The last class I told somebody asked this question: Janami dharmam nachame pravrittihi, janami adharmam nachame nivrittihi. Duryodhana said, I said, Duryodhana, he has got dharma viveka, because he has undergone studies in the Gurukulam, studied with the Acharya. Not that he doesn't know what is dharma, what is adharma. He knows very clearly. But overpowered by raga, and also dvesha. Raga for kingdom, dvesha for Pandavas. He disliked them, hate them. Literally, he wanted Pandavas to, to be finished, to be destroyed. He doesn't want them at all, to live at all. Dvesha. Raga means dvesha also, it is included. Dvesha is hatred. Raga is attachment. Both are subjective values. You hate a thing because of the values what you superimpose on a thing. The things are what they are, they remain same, but it is you who superimpose values. You superimpose the values which attracts you, that is called raga. You superimpose values and then you hate them. You have hatred for that, which is dvesha. Both are problem. Both are problem. Duryodhana had dvesha. Dvesha for Pandavas and raga for kingdom. Yes, intense raga. He wanted to become the king. And also, Dhritarashtra fueled Duryodhana's desire. And his uncle Shakuni also. So, therefore, from this childhood onwards, Duryodhana had been fueled by his father, his Shakuni, and other people, and he had developed a hatred for Pandavas and an intense raga for the kingdom. So he has been imagining that he will become the king. But one day, when Yudhishthira was announced as the prince, from that time onwards, the problem started. Because so far he has been thinking that he would become the prince. He wanted to become the prince and he thought. So, therefore, in Gita, the second chapter, Bhagavan Krishna beautifully says how this, the raga, how this sangha, this attachment will lead slowly to kama, and kama will lead to other problems. Finally, it will result in clouding your discrimination. It will affect your discrimination, the thinking power, distinctly understand. Even though you are well informed, even though you are educated, but it will cloud your thinking and the discrimination will go. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Beautifully, as Bhagavan Krishna has given the sequence. First, Sangha. You first attach yourself with a thing. You got some subjective values. That will lead to Kama, the desire for that. When the desire becomes so intense, it becomes greed, lobha. From this kama, if this kama is not fulfilled, it will turn into krodha. Kamat krodhaha abhijayate. Kama will turn into anger if desire is not fulfilled. When the desire for an object, when it is not fulfilled, the desire could be either in form of gaining it or in the form of getting rid of it. One is raga, other one is dvesha. Both. When both are not fulfilled, then it will turn into an anger. Because both are not fulfilled, there is an obstruction, hindrance to fulfilling it. Therefore, it will turn into anger. And this anger will cloud your mind. You become deluded. Sammoha bhavati. When the buddhi is clouded, what will happen? You forget whatever you have studied. You forget whatever you have studied. You may be a pandita, but now your mind is clouded. Sammogaha, deluded. So, smriti vibhrama, forgetting whatever you have learned, the values, whatever values and the dharma, attitude, values, the knowledge, whatever you gained, everything will be forgotten for time being because your buddhi is clouded. Once smriti become bramsha, smriti bramshat, buddhi nashaha, then once the mind is clouded, then buddhi will get destroyed. Buddhi will not function. Buddhi will not function because you have forgotten for time being everything what you have studied, what you have gained, the values what you have learned, everything is gone now. When buddhi is gone, then what happens? The person is destroyed. He need not be physically destroyed, but he will have the death. That is a spiritual death. That is his progress. His progress in spiritual life, towards spiritual life, it's obstructed. So, buddhi nashat pranashyati. The person need not die physically, but a death. Buddhi, that buddhi nasha is considered itself to be a death. When a person loses the discrimination power, it itself is considered to be a maranam, a death. Because a person is person as long as he has the buddhi in function. Buddhi is intact. Buddhi is not there. Buddhi doesn't function. The person, even though he is alive, he will be considered to be a dead person. because he has lost the thinking, the clarity. It's not there anymore. Therefore, even though Duryodhana knows, but here what happened? That Raga overpowered. Therefore, he followed adharma. Therefore, he took adharma and finally he got destroyed, both physically also, physically as well as it's a spiritual death for Duryodhana. He cannot move forward spiritually, and also he died physically. He had to die in the battle. This is what happened to Duryodhana. This is what I said through the shloka. I hope that shloka will be clear. This is a question from someone. So therefore, viraga, the vairagyam is important. If you have vairagya, then you will have sufficient freedom, enough freedom to pursue things. You will have enough time, enough energy. You will not waste, fritter away your energy on unnecessary things. Therefore, viraga is important. And we have seen the means for vairagyam is viveka. Viveka leads to vairagya. And for viveka, the karma yoga lifestyle, all those things we have seen. So now we will move on to the next quality in the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, which is the sixfold qualities. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. Sampatti means wealth. Sampatti means wealth. Sampatti is Telika. It is Telika Shabda. Matihi, Mati, Matayaha. We will be seeing in Sanskritam class later. Sampattihi. It is Trilinga, therefore Ka. Shamadhi Shatka Sampattihi. It is Ekavachanam, therefore Ka. What are they? Shamaha, Damaha, Uparamaha, Yatiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam, Cha, Iti. And the first one is Shama. So therefore, all these are terms. All these are the terms. Knowing the terms doesn't mean we know what they are. You have to inquire into each word, what it is. Viveka, Vairagya, all these things, all these words we'll be using in all our Vedanta classes. When we study Upanishad and Gita, in all these classes, it's taken for granted, Viveka, Vairagya, because we have studied Tattva Bodha. Tattva Bodha is a base, introduces all the terms, what we use. These terms, what we use also are from the Upanishads only. The Bhashyakara, yes, collected from the Upanishads and the Gita. He has collected all these all these names, and he has given, and it's given in the form of a sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. The sampradaya gives like this. You will not find in any Upanishad or even in Gita, you will not find sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, and all you will not find. It is understood because the sampradaya knows the teaching of the Shastram. So, what the Shastram expects on the part of a person pursuing the Shastram, Sampradaya knows. And Sampradaya has given based on its understanding all these things. Sadhana, Chatushtaya, Sampatti, Shamadhi, Shatka, Sampatti, Iti. Therefore, Sampradaya has done enough homework. They have done homework and they have given these things for our easy understanding and study. So, therefore, we need to know what they are. It is dealt in this text, Tattva Bodha, the very basic text. Even though it is a basic text, it is complete by itself. It presents a vision of the Shastram also. Therefore, it is complete by itself. It is worth memorizing it. So, first topic being sadhana, chatushtayam. Every class we chant. I hope by this time you would have memorized also. Now the next one is shamaha. Shamaha kaha. We have seen. That is the question. What is shama? Shamaha kaha. Simple answer. Mano nigraha. Mana. Mana means mind. Manaha means mind. You see, this topic is discussed after Vairagya. Because you have Vairagya. Vairagya is that, therefore, you have sufficient time, sufficient energy. So, time is there. If mind is not there, then it's a problem. You have got time, but mind should be there. Only when mind is there, you can divert your mind on constructive things. Therefore, the mind should be prepared. In fact, the mind is required all the way. Even from Viveka onwards, it is required. It is not that all these qualities are like tight compartments. All these are interdependent. All these are interdependent. We cannot say this follows that. Strictly, we cannot say. All these are interdependent. So, Shamaha is Mano Nigraha. When we say, it deals with the mind. The mind is already, it's required all the way. For Viveka also, it is required mind. So, it is not that only here only from mind is required. It's not like that. But here we say Shamaha. Shamaha is Shanta Manasaha, the calm mind. The calm mind is required. The mind which is free from Raga, Dvesha, all the agitations. From all the agitation, it is free. That mind, the mind which is free from all the agitation, the emotions, that mind is, it's called Shanta Manasaha. That is called Shamaha. So Shama, it means managing or mastering the mind. For mastering the mind, you should be sufficiently free from this Raga, Advesha. Therefore, there is a connection, we can say. After Vairagya, it is discussed. Shaknoti igaiva yassodum praksharira vimokshanat kama krododbhavam vegam sayuktas sasuki naraha. Bhagavad Gita says that naraha, that man is Suki, and he is Yuktaha, who is integrated, and he is a happy person. Who is that person? The one who is able to endure, the force of the Kama, Krodha. Praksharira vimokshanat. It means before giving up the body. It means while living. While living itself, the person who is able to endure the force, the pressure, the inner urge of this Kama and Krodha. That is, the person is a Vairagi. The person is Sukhi. Vairagya is that you become Sukhi, you become happy. Sasukhi Naraha. Sukham is, why Sukham? Sukham is based on the status of your mind. Sukham is that means Shama is that. Is a Shanta Manasaha. Saha Naraha Sukhi, Saha Yuktaha, the one who is integrated. How this integration is possible? Only when the person has certain mental composure. Therefore, Shamaha is there. Mano Nigraha is there. Mano Nigraha. Therefore, what is Shamaha? Shamaha means, you can translate the Shamaha as mental composure. Shamaha is composure of the mind. Shamaha literally means Shanti, peace. That is why that Shoka also said, Saha Naraha Sukhi. When you become Sukhi, a happy person, when you have peace, that is Shanti, that is Shamaha. So Shamaha means peace of mind, the tranquility of the mind, the mental composure. The mind which is free from stress and strain, that is Shama. It is free from mental stress. Shamaha meaning mental stress. How to, it means freedom from mental stress, not mental stress. It is freedom from mental stress. And freedom from mental stress, how do you gain that? It is by having certain mastery over mind. That is called shamaha. Shamaha means the tranquility of the mind, and that is gained by mastery over mind. Mastery over mind. That is, mind is not a burden anymore. The mind is never a burden. Really, mind is never a burden at all. Mind is an instrument, like any instrument you use. Mobile is an instrument, mobile phone. A computer is an instrument. A car is an instrument. These are instruments. We know how to handle it. When the instrument doesn't function, it is a problem with the instrument. It is the problem with the instrument. So we cannot say if the instrument it fails, it means I'm failed. It is an instrument. We know it is not a problem. It is the ability of the person to handle the instrument. Instrument being what it is, the handling of the instrument is very important. The problem is not with the instrument. Instrument being what it is, it all depends on the handler of the instrument. How to handle the instrument. If you don't like an instrument, you can throw it. You can have another instrument. But here, unfortunately, the mind is being an instrument. It is an instrument given. You cannot throw it. It is what is given. Not only mind, this body is given. All the sense organs are given. The parentage is given. Our life situations are given. The world is given. The society in which we are born is given. Everything is given. We don't have any choice over it. It has been given. When we are born, it is given. Mind is an instrument, it is given. It being an instrument, like any other instrument, electronic gadgets, we should know how to handle the mind, how to operate the mind. We all take the mind for granted. When we buy a mobile phone, we carefully read a manual. Any electronic gadgets, first we read the manual. First of all, how to charge it, how to assemble that, how to use it, do's and don'ts. All these things are given in the manual we study. But when we handle the mind, there is no manual. We just take the mind for granted and just handle it. The poor mind, what the mind will do? It being an instrument, you blame the mind for whatever the problem. The mind is just a reflection of what you are. The mind is a reflection of what you are. It is not the problem with the mind. If the mind reflects any problem, any agitation, emotional agitation, it is not the mind is agitated. The mind is only a reflector. It is only a reflector of the person. The person is agitated, that is reflected through the mind. It is not the mind is agitated, therefore you are agitated. You are agitated, therefore the mind reflects. So it is not the problem with the instrument. It is a problem with you. The mind being what it is. So you have to handle the mind properly. At least mind is there so that you can understand yourself. The mind is an indicator, being an indicator. When the mind is agitated, you know, oh, I'm agitated. I'm in anger. These emotions can be studied through the mind. Bhagavan has given a wonderful instrument, mind. That is why it is called Antakaranam. Antaha Karanam, inner instrument. We have got two types of instrument. One is Antakaranam, other one is Bhagya Karanam. External instrument and internal instrument. External instrument, all the sense organs of perception, all the sense organs of action, this eyes, nose, ears, which we perceive objects, and the leg, hands, etc., by which we do all the activities. So, sense organs of perception and sense organs of action, these are the Bhagya Karanam, external instrument. And all these Bhagya Karanam, they function based on the Antakaranam, backed up by the Antakaranam. If Antakaranam is not there, this Bhagya Karanam cannot function. What is Antakaranam? Which is a mind. That is a Karanam. Kriyate anena iti Karanam. That by which is done, actions are done. That is called a Karanam. So it's very clear, mind is a Karanam. It is an instrument. Like a car, it is an instrument. And this mind, if it becomes a burden, it is not, the mind becomes a burden, you are loaded with worries, anxieties, concern. Therefore, the mind seems to be heavy. You are not at peace. Therefore, the mind seems to be heavy, burden. You are stressed. Therefore, the mind seems to be stressed. The mind is tense. The mind is anxious because you are. That is called manobhara. Manobhara is because of this ashanti. So, therefore, really speaking, when we say mano nigraha, we are not really handling the mind. It is handling yourself through the mind, because you need some indicator what you are, what mental state, what state you are, not mental state, what state you are, whether you are stressed or anxious or you are happy. How do you know? How do you know yours for yourself? Only through the mind. So it's very clear, mind is not you. It is very clear, the mind is not you. It is an instrument. You need an instrument to know what state are you are in. For that, mind is helpful. So mastering the mind is mastering yourself. We need to understand this very clearly. Mastering the mind is mastering yourself. So therefore, this mano nigraha, you will see some people translating it as controlling the mind. It is translated as controlling the mind. It is not controlling the mind. It is not controlling the mind. Why mind should be controlled? There is no need for mind to be controlled. If you say control means as though the mind is an enemy, you will have the approach towards the mind as though it is an enemy. Mind is not an enemy. Your car is not your enemy. Similarly, mind is also not your enemy. It is an equipment given to you. It should be handled properly. So, as long as the mind is with you, in the sense that the mind behaves like a servant, then it is handled. The mind behaves or obeys or in line with what you are. It means the mind is a good servant. The instrument is functioning properly. The instrument is functioning properly. So that is the nigraha. That is what is meant by the word nigraha. The word nigraha, it comes in Yoga Shastra. Chitta vritti nirogaha. Chitta vritti nirodha. The nirodha is nigraha. The nigraha comes from the Yoga Shastra. Chitta vritti, nirodha. And this nirodha, nigraha, it is wrongly understood by some people as stopping the mind. It is stopping the mind. You cannot stop the mind. Mind being what it is, you cannot stop the mind. The mind is not meant for stopping. The mind is meant for thinking. It will continue, it will keep on thinking. It will keep on thinking, and it is a very good reflector of you. The mind keeps on thinking, keeps on keeps on projecting what you are, or what you what has been stored in your memory. It will keep on ruminating, because it is an instrument. As long as you consider it as an instrument and handle it properly, you will not be carried over by what the mind thinks. What the mind thinks. Thinking is the very nature of the mind. Thinking, that is called mind. So you cannot stop the mind from thinking. If you stop the mind from thinking, then how will you do your vyavahara? Vyavahara itself is not possible. So some people, they have problem with the very translation of the word nigraha. It is quietening the mind. It is stopping the mind. It is destroying the mind. You cannot destroy the mind. How can you destroy that which Bhagavan has given? Therefore, we should know how to handle the mind. Handling the mind is handling you. Therefore, handle the mind. Handling the mind is handling you. Therefore, we say Mano Nigraha is mastery over mind. It means mastery over yourself. So when I use the word mastery over mind, it's all about you only. It's all about you only. In the language we say mind. Mind is what? It's not, it is you. We're talking about you. So here also I will use the word, the mind, as an instrument. It is only an instrument. And how it functions depends on the handler of the instrument. So the mind needs to be handled. That should be very clear. The unhandled mind becomes a source of problem. The handled mind becomes a source of happiness. The one who can handle it. Saha Sukhi Naraha. Saha Sukhi Naraha. The one who could not handle, he becomes Ashanta Purushaha. And the mind will become a burden for that person. Therefore, Mano Nigraha. The word should be very clear. Nigraha means mastery over the mind. And mind is the Antakaranam. Mind is the Antakaranam. It's an instrument. And this Antakaranam has to be handled for what? Handled to remain at peace, forever peace. The peace of mind is required. First we need peace of mind. Manashanti is required. Manashanti is required even for physical health. Not only in spiritual context, this Manashanti is that mental composure is required. Even for maintaining physical health, we need Manashanti. If you are continuously stressed, what will happen? It will lead to a lot of physical problems. Therefore, Manashanti is because of handling the mind properly. So Mano Nigraha means handling the mind, making the mind available for gaining what you want in life. That is called Mano Nigraha. Here our pursuit is moksha. So moksha purushartha, moksha being our goal. Therefore, making the mind available for moksha, making the mind available for the pursuit of moksha. That is called Mano Nigraha. That is a very good definition. So we can take Mano Nigraha as making the mind available for the pursuit of moksha. Here the context is moksha. Therefore, we will take this translation. Mano Nigraha, generally it means mastery over mind. Mastery means what? Making the mind available. Available all the time for you. For what? For the pursuit of moksha. Moksha is our goal. Vedanta is our goal. We should not slip away from the goal. And for getting the goal, we need the instrument to be in proper condition. That is called Mano Nigraha. So we have to take care of the mind free from all the viruses, external viruses. this kama, krodha, adi virus. All this should not infect the mind. So we need to know how to handle the mind, how to and balance the mind. Balancing is required to even to recognize what we have studied, what we have gained, what knowledge we have gained. That is why I said Smriti Brahmshat Buddhinasha Buddhinashat Pranashyati. Buddhinasha. When Buddhi goes away, the person is gone, destroyed. So balancing the mind, keeping the mind in calm composure is required even to reflect on what we have gained, what we have studied. Even for the knowledge, even whatever the knowledge we have gained, for the knowledge to be available, the mind has to be peace. Its mind has to be at peace. Therefore, Shamaha is very important quality, and Bhagavan Krishna he calls this Shama, this Shama as Shanti. Shanti alone can make one person happy, can make a person happy. If Shanti is not there, then what will happen? The person becomes Ashanta Manasaha. Ashanta Manasaha Kutas Sukam, Ashantasya Kutas Sukam, Nasti Buddhira Yuktasya, Nacha Yuktasya Bhavana, Nacha Bhavagata Shantihi, Ashantasya Kutas Sukam. Ashantasya Purushasya Sukam Kutaha Bhavati. How can a person who doesn't have this Shanta, who is not at peace, who doesn't have Shanta Manasa, Shanta peaceful mind, there is no Manashanti for that person. How can there be happiness for him? So, for one is for happiness, and second thing, the knowledge, whatever you have gained, should be available for you for that purpose, and to lead a sane life, to lead a healthy life, to pursue the Vedanta, very important. We need to know to manage the mind. We need to know to balance the mind. So balancing of mind, making the mind available is called Shamaha. It's called Shamaha. So therefore, Shamaha kaha, Shamaha is Mano Nigraha iti. Now, why this Shama is important? Already I said this. Shama is, if Shama is not there, then the mind will not be with you. The mind will not be with you. Mind is not there, happiness is not there, the composure is not there. So you won't be able to pursue anything. It can lead you to a physical problem also. All other problems follow. Therefore, Shama is very important. And if Shama is there, you will have a lot of time. You will not complain about not having time. If Shama is there, because mind is available, so therefore you will have healthy time. You will have effective time. If Shama is there, you will have effective time and you will have sufficient time. You will not complain about not having time. Therefore, Shama is significant. And how to get this Shama? What is the means for getting this Shama? That also is said. Even though here it is not said, it is said. How to gain this Shama? What is Upaya? Before knowing the means for gaining Shama, first thing is, if your mind is disturbed, emotionally disturbed, you have to acknowledge first. First thing is the problem is to be acknowledged. Many of us generally will not acknowledge. We will not acknowledge the emotional stability, the reactions of the mind. We will try to generally deny that. We generally try to deny. First, we have to accept. Yes, the mind is disturbed. The disturbance of the mind, the emotional, the reactions, what happens in the mind has to be acknowledged. Yes, it is there. Anger is there. Accept anger is there. We cannot deny the anger. Denying is not going to solve the problem. Denying is not dismissing it. It is there. You cannot dismiss it. Why should you dismiss it? First, acknowledge. Acknowledgement will solve 50% of the problem. Any problem only becomes a problem, big problem, if you dismiss it. If the problem is there, real problem, then acknowledge. Acknowledgement is the first step. Acknowledgement is the first step because denying you are not going to solve the problem. So acknowledge. Yes, the mind reacts. The mind is not acting, it is reacting. Acknowledgement is not being judgmental about yourself. That is different. In fact, you should not be judgmental about yourself. You judge yourself and you dismiss yourself. That becomes a problem. You start hating yourself. The mind has got certain emotions in the form of the fear or anger, worry, anxiety, concern. Accept. Yes. That is not being the judgmental. Accepting the fact. Yes. So one has to be non-judgmental, and acknowledge any emotions. We don't have to call it as a positive or negative. That is also labeling it, and that labeling also is a problem. We need that's a big problem. We label things and dismiss. There is nothing positive and negative. We label it. Any emotion being what it is, what they are. So what is positive and negative about it? Therefore, without being judgmental, first we have to acknowledge the mind. Accept, look at the mind with, with with an attitude of objectivity. Like you have objectivity towards the things of the world, towards an object in the world. Similarly, mind is also being a Karanam. Therefore, look at it objectively. Understand that emotions are nothing but it is a release of something which had been stored inside. Any emotions which are coming out, it is nothing but the release of certain emotions which are stored inside. Anger also, if you study anger is an emotion which is there already. It is now that the situation has come and it is being released. You cannot suppress the anger also. That also becomes a problem. The suppressed anger, suppressed frustration, that leads to other problem, physical problem also, emotional and as well as physical problem. Then how should I express the anger if you ask? Yes, express the anger. If anger is there, first acknowledge and express the anger in a different way. Puji Swamiji used to tell this. When anger is there, instead of showing it to a person and affecting the person, affecting yourself, you just write it out. Whatever emotions you have, you just write it out. If you want, whatever comes in the mind, just write it. If you want to scold a person using any words, bad words, please write it out. In that way, you can release the anger. Because it is there, anger is there inside. Now, the situation has triggered that anger. It is coming out. Let it come out. Like the pus which comes out from the boil, it has to come out. You cannot store it inside. It becomes a problem. It has to come out. Similarly, anger, other emotions, it has to be released. Accepting this without condemning it, accepting it. And another method also they say, taking a stick in your hand and beat anything which is soft, like a pillow. Take the pillow and beat it. That is also expression of your anger. This is harmless way of expressing your anger. You cannot ask why this anger is there in me. It is there because of various reasons. Because of the collected emotions from the childhood. I'm just taking anger as an example. Anger or any other emotion, anger or rejection, the feeling of being rejected, all this unknowingly that you have collected from the childhood. So even when situation is not there, Even the situation is not there, a small thing can trigger this emotion, and this anger, other emotions, they come out. One has to be very alert to watch that and acknowledge that, accept that, and let it out. Every emotion has got a background. There are no emotions without background. And if you're a matured person, you will understand the background and allow the emotions to come out. That is why I said mind is a very good reflector. It's a very good instrument. It has to be handled. It reflects your emotions. So there is no point in whipping the mind. There is no point in condemning the mind. Mind being what it is, if you know how to handle it. Therefore, it is very important. That is called Mano Nigraha, and we will discuss more on this in the next class. Stop here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namah.
Om.
Harihi Om.
Dhanyawad.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.